Rod,
Herbito.
before we go full on football heavy, man, uh, where are you? Where's your fandom? How do you feel? Because this shit was like, what happened when you read that? Did you get a text? Did somebody call you? Did you go on ESPN? Did you get an alert? Where were you? Put me on the scene, bro.
So I was actually at work when I got the news. Right. I was in the middle of actually doing a job, and we had got done, doing an install. So we were kind of heading back to the shop to go to our second one to pick up a load. So I'm on my phone, Herbie, and I see breaking news on YouTube. I go on YouTube just to play some music. And one of the first things that pops up is breaking news: Jalen Ramsey's traded. But at the time that I saw it, I didn't know what we got for him. I just knew that he was traded to the Steelers. So my initial thoughts were like, damn, man, like the Steelers are going to have Jalen Ramsey. They're going to have Minkah. They added Darius Slay in the offseason. Fucking that secondary, it might be a little something. And then as the day went on and I got into more details, Herbie, I realized, wait, what? Minka's coming back? So, Herbie, I was feeling just a whirlwind of emotions. But the kicker, Herbie, that really got me was the Dolphins traded John Smith. I was like, damn, Doug, are you serious, man? So, honestly, Herbie, if I had to say one thing about this whole trade process, this whole situation has left me with more questions than answers, if I'm being real with you, dog. Like, it's just left me with more questions than answers, dog. And
Nah, and
we're going to get to that.
I take that sentiment, man. I take that sentiment, man. So let's get right into it, man. Let's break down this trade from top to bottom to the best of our abilities, right? So, like you said, you got that alert. I don't know where I was. I think I was driving home and I seen it, and then I'm like, okay, it wasn't shocking that he got traded. We knew that.
Right. We
We've
talked about it.
discussed that. We broke it down. We've had multiple episodes talking about this trade. It was the worst kept secret in sports. What was shocking was who he was traded for, where he was traded to. Where he was traded to? Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh already has cornerbacks. They just signed Darius Slay. So that was kind
Drafted
of
a first rounder at that.
right. And you have Joey Porter Jr. Who he was drafted for was the one that knocked me off my feet and made me cackle and laugh and bust out into tears, my dog. Y'all traded him for Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Minkah Fitzpatrick, Mr. I only lasted 7 games in Miami. Minkah Fitzpatrick. That dude. This is hilarious because on one part, this is just the absurdity of the NFL, right? And Chris Greer continues to prove that he has naked pictures of everybody in the organization, dog. This is proof of that. And then the other side of it is Minkah Fitzpatrick is coming home. The prince that was promised is finally back. Like, bro, there's a lot of emotions to have as a Dolphin fan, right? Like me, I'm on the outside looking in. I'm a tangible Dolphin fan at this point. I know more about this team than I know about the Cowboys, dog. That's where we are. But to see Minkah Fitzpatrick come home, and this was basically a 1-for-1 trade, right? You had the Jonathan Smith got traded as well, but it might be a situation where Jonathan Smith might stay there or he might get traded again. Who knows? But this is Chris Greer realizing that he should have never let Minkah Fitzpatrick go, and that was the old girl that he saw on Facebook, who saw on IG. He been DMing, he's been liking all the stories, he's been sending hearts, and he said, "Man, if I ever get an opportunity, if Minkah Fitzpatrick breaks up with her, you feel me, and I'm gonna make things right." And that's what you have here essentially, bro. Chris Greer realized and never got over the fact that he traded a 3-time All-Pro safety to another team because he couldn't get along with Brian freaking Flores, dog.
Low strikes again, man. Low strikes again.
Brian Flores strikes again. Now, let's do. You want to do macro? Or you want to do micro? I'll give you both. Macro is what do you feel about Minkah Fitzpatrick's how he fits into this team? Do you feel like he has lost a step, and do you have any pause for concern? Micro is, do you think that this is going to help the locker room?
So from a macro sense, Herbie, when I look at what Minkah so I'll be candid and honest with everybody who's going to come across this, who's watching this now, all that. When I found out this news, we found this out today. And when I got home, I only had about an hour's worth of research. So I did a little research on Minkah because he was a player that I haven't really looked into in quite a while. Like his reputation at this point, I think precedes him. And the thing about Minkah, and I'll get into what the things that I liked and the things I didn't like, right? So when I looked into some research and tape on Minkah, the one thing I noticed was that he's a physical player. And if you ask me, you can never have too many physical players on your team. If you have all 53 men on your team physical players, you're winning, right? That was one. Two, even though his stats don't really show how he played the past 2 years, Herbie, I have to be honest and say DB is the one position to where your stats are not always indicative of how well you play. Because yeah, his numbers went down, Herbie. Earlier in his career, he had a 6 interception season, a 4 interception season, a 5 interception season. Like this guy is a 3-time All Pro. However, Herbie, the past 2 years, he's only had one pick each season. From what I saw on him on tape, it seems like at times he might struggle in man coverage. Which, listen, he's a safety. He's not a cover corner. I get it, right? He will only be so good in coverage, right? But I don't really know, Herbie, if his numbers are down because he's not as good or if teams have gained a respect for how he plays, right? Because when you get burned enough, and we know this when it comes to DBs, Herbie, sometimes you can look at a DB stats and you would think they didn't do anything. No tackles, no passes defended, but you know what else they have? No targets, right? So, and also, you also have to factor in the defense that the Steelers run, right? The Steelers have always been a team that has been, when it comes to defense, they are stalwarts on defense. They're always stout, they're creative. They run a lot of hybrid looks, which is why I think Ramsey going to them, even though they lost Minkah, Ramsey going to them might actually do them some good, but I'll get to that a little later. When I look at Minkah, Herbie, I'm just not sure which Minkah we're getting. Are we getting the all-pro Minkah, or are we getting the Minkah of the past 2 seasons who the Steelers felt they could ship off? That's one of the questions that I have when it comes to Minkah in a macro sense. That's basically it.
And that's where I'm at too, because it's always funny because when you go ahead and you get a trade and you go, and the first thing that you want to do is go on the team subreddit, right? That team subreddit from the player that you're getting. We don't need that. We already have a fan base that's strong enough to tell us out the gate. And the homies was like, "Hey, bruh, Minkah ain't like he used to be." My homie, shout out to Trez. Trez was the first one to come in. He was like, "Hey man, Minkah, he kind of lost a step, and he was getting ran on, and he was getting ran by." That's not what you want to hear, especially with the Dolphins at all, right? Now, but granted, different situation, different scheme, different schematics, different way to be
Derrick
deployed.
Henry took his soul, Herbie. He kind of had to get out of Pittsburgh, man.
I mean,
Derrick
yeah.
Henry took his soul, man.
But you can't feel bad about that. Derrick Henry take everybody's soul, man. So the one thing that I don't like when I hear about my DBs is getting ran by. Like, especially at safety. It's called safety for a reason. You're the last line of defense. You're the safe spot. So if he can't keep up with dudes down the field anymore, that might be a problem. However, on the flip side, you are in the AFC East. Who do you really have to worry about? Keon Coleman, Kishore Stewart,
Right,
Garrett
right.
Wilson, like, so that it again. That's why I said different teams, you might get different results. In Anthony Reaver, I trust. Hand on the Bible. You already know. But the micro, man. Let's talk about the micro. The micro, I want to have the conversation because normally this would be more macro, but because it's so immediate and and it's going to reverberate, I want to say micro. Jalen Ramsey became a problem in the locker room. But Jalen Ramsey is the worst problem to have in the locker room for one reason and one reason only. People love Jalen Ramsey. People respect Jalen Ramsey. So when the person that is the leader of the locker room becomes the problem of the locker room and he gets shipped out, you would think it would make the locker room better. But the adverse happens because a lot of players would be like, bruh, you see how they did Jalen Ramsey? He a vet. He one of them ones. He gonna be in the Hall of Fame. We love Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't like them dudes upstairs, bruh. You feel me? I ain't feeling them dudes at all. Jalen Ramsey was not the only person coming late. Jalen Ramsey was not the only person making a sort of a ruckus. Jalen Ramsey was not the only person making it hard for Mike McDaniel to be a head coach and to show his authority, right? So how do you feel about this? Do you actually think that the team gets better, or is this going to be a bad sign going forward into the 2025 season, Rod?
Well, Herbie, when you word it like that, it's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint it, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, Jalen Ramsey got to a point to where he didn't want to be here. So him being traded was just like he wanted to get out, right? So you just wonder exactly what are you getting in return when you get Minkah back, right? Because one, Minkah has no, even though he has the reputation, everybody knows how good and skilled he is, right? Or how good and skilled he's been, 3-time All Pro. But at the end of the day, Herbie, is he going to bring a certain level of accountability and leadership that Jalen Ramsey didn't? And here's the thing, Herbie. When I look at the two players, our defense is it's essentially a wash. And the reason why I say that is because Jalen Ramsey allowed an 89 passer rating last year. Like, listen, if Steelers fans are going to say that Minkah is not what we think is, I want y'all to know that Jalen might not be who you think is. Now, look, there's been talk about Jalen Ramsey being moved to safety when you look at some of the national media and things like that. I think that's kind of overblown, Herbie, because, you know, the Steelers made moves in the offseason. They signed a Juan Thornhill who just came off of a couple seasons from Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. You know, they have a bunch of corners. And the thing we got to remember in the modern NFL, the base defensive package now is nickel. It's not like we do the traditional 4-3s and 3-4s like we used to. Now teams run more like 4-2-5 packages now. So, which is like, you know, you got 4 defensive linemen up front, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. So the nickel plays a much bigger role. So when I look at the Steelers, Herbie, the Steelers got them a guy who, like, look, no matter how you slice it, I don't think you could make the argument that Jalen Ramsey will play the safety position better than Minkah. However, you do have more versatility with Ramsey because Ramsey was a safety at FSU, if people remember. Like, he was converted into a corner. But before being a corner, he was a safety. So when you look at what both teams have to offer, and look, Herbie, the Dolphins needed, you know, someone to replace Ramsey, right? Like, we were going into the season already thin and bare at cornerback, right? Like, you look at our cornerback room, Herbie, we have Storm Duck. Yes, for people who are not Dolphins fans, this is a real person's name. We have Storm Duck. We have Darth Cater. We have fucking Darth Cater is a nickname for non-Dolphins fans. We have we picked up Artie Burns. Like Herbie, outside of Melfonwu, who we got from Detroit, Herbie, I'm not really crazy about our DB room. Like, our safety tandem might be one of the better ones in the league, but at the end of the day, Herbie, from the standpoint I look at, both teams, like, this move for both teams to me doesn't make them substantially better either way. Now when you look at the Jonnu Smith aspect of this shit, Jonnu Smith, Herbie, I'll put it to you like this: Arthur Smith.
Wait. Hold on. First things first. Shout out to the homie Dro, man. You already know, man. Dro.
What's good, Dro?
So let's get to the comments first, man. I feel that wasn't an effective move, man. That's what Dro is feeling. That's what the culture is saying. Oh my God. Oh my God. The queen that was promised. Shit. Carissa's in the building. Carissa's in the building. You already know, man. When royalty's in the building, you got to go ahead and give a round of applause. You already know the vibes, man.